Ladies and gentlemen, this Bucks and Nets series, let's talk about it. For the people who've been watching the NBA, y'all would know that the Nets and the Bucks are 2 games done, and the Bucks are down 0-2, which means the Nets are up 2-0. And this series was supposed to be a classic. Classic might be pushing it, but a lot of people expected this series to be very competitive because the Brooklyn Nets are considered a super team, and a lot of people, including myself, I include myself in this bracket of people, we're saying that if there is one team that can beat the Brooklyn Nets in the Eastern Conference, the number 1 team that could beat them would be the Milwaukee Bucks. And I know we're only 2 games into the series, but being down 0-2 to this team, especially the way they've played the first 2 games of the series, is definitely concerning, and I'm gonna tell y'all why. And y'all can tell by the title of this video, but there is no excuse for the Milwaukee Bucks to be down this bad. No pun intended, like this bad, being down 0-2 in the series and essentially being blown out the first 2 games. Given the personnel of both teams and given the situation at hand, which I'll get into a little bit more in a second, them being down 0-2, yes, there's a perspective where I see that, but them being down 0-2 and being blown out the first 2 games the way they've had, there's no excuse. And the reason being is because James Harden is injured. He got injured in like the first 6 minutes of game 1. So it wasn't like James Harden was playing the first half and dominating and then he got injured. He got injured in the first 5 minutes of game 1, which essentially means that the Brooklyn Nets have been winning against the Milwaukee Bucks without James Harden for the most part. And for the most part, it's like 95% of the series so far, and that percentage is gonna increase even more if James Harden misses more games. What I'm seeing right now is wild, because the whole point of the James Harden trade was to give up depth in order to get the superstar caliber player. But what we have right now is they gave up that depth, and they don't have James Harden right now, and the Nets are still winning. And I know if you look at the box score of game 1, the Nets only won by 8, which doesn't seem like a blowout, but the reality of the situation is if you look at the play-by-play, with 1 minute and 26 left, the Nets were up by 15, and the Bucks just went on, a little run with the scrubs in, and they got it down to 8 by the end of the game. That doesn't mean the whole game, it was an 8-point, 6-point game. That is not the case whatsoever. As a matter of fact, with 3 minutes left in game 1, the Brooklyn Nets were up by 17. And so far, I've been disappointed. Because, again, they don't have James Harden. And I knew the Bucks weren't going to stop Kyrie and Kevin Durant. You don't stop those players. But what I did expect them to do with the personnel that they have, and again, given the fact that they are missing a superstar, which means there's more load and you can focus more on those 2 superstars in Kyrie and KD, was slow them down just a little bit. Just a little bit from their production. But so far in the series, they haven't really slowed down anyone. I mean, I guess they slowed down Kyrie a little bit. He's averaging 23.5 points, 7 assists and 5 rebounds on 47% shooting and 37% from 3, and hasn't taken any free throws, which is wild, by the way. Which is wild. He hasn't taken any free throws this series and is still averaging 24 points a game. I guess that's slowing down Kyrie, but when you look at Kevin Durant and you have the reigning defensive player of the year, let's just be honest, he's the reigning defensive player of the year. And even if you don't have him winning defensive player of the year this year, he's still considered a top 5 defender in the league. Kevin Durant, if anything, so far is having like a historical series, because in the first 2 games of the series, he's averaging 31 points, 5 assists, 7 rebounds on 56% shooting from the field and 50% shooting from 3 and 89% shooting from the line. That is insane. And for my advanced stats people out there, he's shooting a true shooting percentage of 65%, essentially, 65%. And they just can't seem to guard Blake Griffin. They just can't. And that statement might be different like 2 years ago when Blake was averaging like 25 points a game on the Pistons. But right now, with our perception of what Blake Griffin is, there's no way Blake Griffin should be averaging 13 points and 11 rebounds on 59% shooting from the field and 46% shooting from 3. Averaged out between 2 games. So defensively alone, the Milwaukee Bucks have been underwhelming. But what's really been underwhelming is offense. Because the Brooklyn Nets, again, the whole critique I've had and a lot of people have had with this team is they don't have defenders. Defense has always been a question with this team. For the whole season, they were 23rd in defensive rating, and again, just looking at the personnel of this team, they don't have that many good defenders. They don't have that many good defenders. Like, the best defenders they have on the team are who? Nicholas Claxton, who's getting 14 minutes a game this series so far, and Bruce Brown, who's getting 24 minutes a game. Yet, despite all of that, Drew Holiday, I ain't gonna lie, 15 points a game, 45% from the field, cool. That should be higher. That should be higher. 33% from three, that should be higher. Shooting 33% from the free throw line, that should definitely be higher. That should definitely be higher. Chris Middleton, come on, bro. You're supposed to be the second option of this team. Out of all the series you can go off in, this has to be the one you go off in. This has to be the one you go off in. The 9 rebounds you've been putting up, that's cool. That's cool. But the 15 points a game you've been putting up on 30% shooting from the field and 23% shooting from the three is not enough. That has to improve. And even Giannis, bro, I ain't gonna lie, 26 points a game, 11 rebounds, 4 assists on 62% shooting from the field. In a vacuum, those are good numbers. But this series specifically is set up for you to perform higher than your standard. We've had these conversations of, because of the Brooklyn Nets defense, this really might be a series where Giannis averages like 35 and 15 or something crazy like that. And 26 and 11 is not cutting it, bro. I ain't gonna lie, that is not cutting it. And I get it, he's not a good shooter from the free throw line, but 20%, come on, bro. No steals so far in the series from Giannis and Drew Holiday as well, and there's only been one from Chris Middleton. Defensively, the Bucks have to lock up. The Bucks have to lock up. And while this video is mostly criticizing the Milwaukee Bucks play, I gotta talk about KD. I have to talk about KD because this man is coming off an Achilles injury, an Achilles tear. That is not a serious injury. That is not a minor injury. That is an injury that, for the most part, historically speaking, has altered careers. And I've said this a lot in my videos, but historically speaking, the only player that's come back from an Achilles injury and has maintained superstar level of play, even all-star level of play, has been Dominique Wilkins. But at this point, Kevin Durant is on that list. He has fully, and I mean fully, recovered from an Achilles tear. Not only is he coming back from an Achilles tear, but throughout the season alone, he's been dealing with injuries. He only played 35 games this season. Kyrie Irving as well. He had a season-ending injury in the 2019-2020 season and came back this year and had the best season of his career and has been balling out in the playoffs so far. In this series specifically, where, you know, there was a question of if the Bucks have the personnel to go up against the Nets, and especially given the fact that James Harden again went down in the first minute of game 1, the fact that Kyrie and KD are performing this well is, you have to give them credit. And let me just say, because I've been kind of getting cooked on Twitter, yes, I was a skeptic of the James Harden trade. I was. And that was mainly stemming from the fact that, yes, the Brooklyn Nets improved offensively, but all that James Harden did was just emphasize their strengths and, you know, emphasize their weaknesses even more. And before the Harden trade, mind you, people already had the Nets coming out of the East and losing to the Lakers, and still after the Harden trade was the same case. People still had the Brooklyn Nets coming out of the Eastern Conference and the Lakers still beating them. Now, did people turn after the Harden trade? Did some people convert to saying the Nets would win the championship now? Yes, but for the most part, after that trade, people still had the Lakers beating the Brooklyn Nets if they happened to meet up in the NBA Finals. That is the reality of the takes back then. And I agreed with those takes, I agreed. But with that being said, with the way the Nets have been performing so far, the series isn't over. They have been proving me wrong. And especially if the Nets beat the Bucks in 4 or 5 games, then yes, fully, I've been proven wrong. And I don't know what to tell you. I've been proven wrong. It's okay. A lot of these takes at the end of the day are just predictions and opinions, and they can be proven wrong. I can be proven wrong. It's okay. I'm not gonna lose any sleep over it. I just hope y'all are enjoying the videos as you guys are watching them. But with that being said, I'm out. Peace.